Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Women Work Your Faith. My name is Sylvia Johnson and I am going to be covering the Sunday School Lesson for Sunday, October the 10th. If this is your first time here, I am one half of a dynamic duo who likes to use this platform to share our testimony of faith. And we do that not only through Sunday school lessons, but through a variety of videos where we talk about different Bible topics, different ways to understand and interpret the Bible, and some Bible study lessons. So if you enjoy this Sunday school lesson, please take a moment to look over to the side, I think it's this side, and click on one of the suggested videos so that you can continue learning about us and growing your faith. Now, without further ado, let's get into the lesson. The title of this Sunday's lesson is The Superiority of Wisdom. Our Bible basis comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 13 through 18. Our Bible truth: we should not ignore the quiet, thoughtful words of the wise. Our memory verse: then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. And that comes from Ecclesiastes, the 9th chapter, and the 16th verse. And that's the King James Version. This lesson is a continuation of the wisdom literature. And I don't know about you, but as a young person reading the Bible, Ecclesiastes was always like one of those books I skipped over. I was more interested in the stories or what Jesus had to say. But as I have grown, not necessarily just in age, but as I have matured in my walk, the wisdom that I find in this book is very applicable to life, and it is a wonderful resource to go and learn some things, much like the book of Proverbs. So in today's lesson there is a parable, and I know in the Bible we tend to just associate parables with Jesus, but they are all throughout the Bible. The telling of a parable is a good way to teach a lesson through a means that the hearers or readers can identify with. And so we're giving an example to the person that is familiar to them so that they learn what you want them to understand. Our writer starts by saying, I'm going to introduce something to you that I have seen happen, and the example that he says is also under the sun. And so it is something that he has seen happen multiple times on this earth or in life. And he gives us a story about a city in chapter 14. And the city is under siege. The city itself, when he describes it, it's a little city, so small in size, and it has a few men within it. And so the city itself does not meet any of the criteria of what would make it a great or famous or strong or popular city, right? It's not large. It doesn't have a lot of men, meaning the population is small and there's not a lot of people there to protect it. So you've got this little wimpy city, right? This small, seemingly insignificant city. And then what happens? Well, something comes against it, right? And it says it's a great king. So you've got a little city and a great king. And it says he came against it and he besieged it. So he comes marching against the city and he's decided to take it and overrun it. And it says he built great bulwarks against it. So he built great weapons of warfare against this city. Now, this is relevant to the reader at this time because the children of Israel were in the promised land, but there were other peoples in surrounding areas that were a threat to them. And so in that time, it was very important to be able to protect your city and to know what to do if someone came to you and you were under attack. And that's what makes the parable relevant to the people at that time. Well, let's fast forward to today. The comparison in status between the little city and the great king is still applicable to us in our time. right? And so the little city represents something that is vulnerable and doesn't seem to have much protection. And that could be a place, as in, a city, a town, a home. It could be a person. And so you have something that is small in stature or vulnerable and unprotected. And then you have something very threatening coming to overrun it. And that happens all the time today. So just looking at the few facts that you're given, right? You would think that little city, great king, few people, lots of weapons of war, this is not going to end well, okay? And that's how we think. When we are under attack, and it could be us on our jobs, right? Your superiors, the people in positions of power, those things come against you, and your thought is, well, I'm gonna be defeated, this isn't gonna go well. Haha. But the writer has a plot twist, okay? So in the next verse, he tells us, however, in the city, there was a poor wise man. Again, listen to the descriptions that the writer is giving for who's in the city, okay? There ain't many men, but there is one poor wise one, right? And it says, he by his wisdom delivered the city. So even though strength and possibly numbers was on the side of the king, in the city, there was a wise man, and by his wisdom, he was able to deliver the city. He was able to save them from their destruction, or from being overrun by this king. So I told you, plot twist, right? We thought it was going down. It's going to be bad for this city. They're going to be wiped out. However, because there was one person in the city with wisdom, they were able to deliver the city. Now think about that. They saved the city, but their one mind of wisdom was able to deliver them from all of whatever the king was doing on the outside. And so it puts into context the significance of how powerful wisdom is when it is applied. However, plot twist again, right? It says he delivered the city, yet no man remembered that same poor man. So you would think, right? He saved the town, he saved the day, but nobody remembered him. And that's an interesting contrast to what you would expect to happen. However, when we think about it in our life, how often do we do that? We remember, just look at social media. Oh my gosh. Look at all the foolishness and the drama and the chaos. That stuff, you're being besieged by that, right? And it is constantly coming against you. How many times when that stuff is coming at you, do you think of the wisdom of the poor wise people who told you don't get in that? Or this is how you avoid those arguments. And this is how you stay out of that situation. Y'all don't remember that. It never comes back to your mind. And that's what the writer is getting at. The wisdom is so valuable and it is so powerful, but we don't ever remember that it's there. So from this lesson in the parable, the writer explains to us they have this realization, right? Wisdom is better than strength. Ta-da! And you would think, yeah, good answer, good answer. It is. But how many times do we apply that in our life? How often do you look at what's going on around you and you see someone trying to force their way? They're trying to force their advantage. They're trying to force their progress in life. They're trying to force their way to their ambitions. But what the parable is telling you is wisdom is better than strength. And he goes on to say, nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised. Kanisha and I love the nevertheless and lots of other examples in the Bible. But in this example, it's an unfortunate nevertheless. Because even though wisdom is better than strength, us silly people never really value it for what it's worth. That's what he's saying when he says the poor man's wisdom is despised. It is looked at as not being worth anything. One, because of who it is or who carries that wisdom. So if the great king that was beating down the walls or trying to break into the city had been that wise, that wisdom would have been looked at as being of great value and importance and significance. But because it is often wisdom is often shrouded in the disguise of a lowly person, of a weaker person, as a person who doesn't have anything, we look at it as if it isn't worth much, when really it was worth the whole of the city, right? We often overlook people because it doesn't make sense to us that would be the wise person. Okay, and I used this in another video, but it keeps coming back because, again, we're in the wisdom literature, right? In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 20, it says, "Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world?" And then it continues and it goes down, and when you get to verse 25, it says, "Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty." So in God's kingdom, which is the reason why this is included in our lesson and part of the Bible, the things that the people in the world, us, our fleshly carnal minds think are great and noble and powerful and wise, that is not what it is in God's kingdom. He takes the low, the weak, the small, and if you think about it, you see it every day in life. So, words of wise comparison. So you have the words of the wise and then how it's compared against how the cry. Okay, so the words of the wise, it says, heard more among the quiet. And that's interesting because he's not saying it's quiet when you hear it. It's the people who are quiet, the soft-spoken ones. I think I said this in another video. I had a student that told us a quote that says, "If you have to tell someone what you are, you ain't much." So when it says are heard in quiet, those people are not trying to get recognition and shouting and broadcasting and self-proclaiming. An example I can give you from my own personal life, right? My grandmother, she is, well, she don't want me to tell all her business, but just know I'm grown. And so she's much older than me. But my grandmother has always lived in a rural community. She got married very young. She never graduated from high school. She never went to college. She doesn't have flashy, flashy, shiny things. And she doesn't, really have a lot of worldly experience. But the things that she has taught me about life, just when the two of us are sitting and talking to one another, or when I call her just to see how she's doing, she just pours out into me without making a big deal about it. And then it says, more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. And so the cry, there's a contrast here. And you see that throughout the lesson, right? The person who speaks in quiet versus the one who cries out. What I think of, and I'm not bashing social media because this is social media. It can be used for good, but a lot of people aren't, right? So you see people who today, we're arguing about everything, right? That's what I think of. Those people who are just crying out and they think they know so much. You've got your, Facebook evangelists and your politicians and your woke folk and this and everybody's hollering about something. And so we here in Kentucky don't live in a monarchy. So take that ruler and think of a boss or an elected official or, your chief, your manager, whomever. Lots of people in these leadership positions, not all of them, but lots of people are in these leadership positions and they rule among fools. What do you mean among? not over them, among them. So you're with them, which would count you as one of them. We need to do a little bit more thinking when information is brought our way, because what looks like wisdom because of the status or the method, the great, awesome method that someone projected it to you, could just be straight foolishness according to what he says. What he's saying is, if you are in battle, and going back and reflecting on the beginning of the story with the parable, doesn't matter what people are coming against you with. If you are wise, defeat is not imminent. You can win over that. Back then, it might have been pitchforks and arrows, but today sometimes it's our aggressive tactics that we use against one another when we're pursuing our own ambitions. And what this is telling us is that wisdom is better than this. It is more important than this. It is more valuable than this. So if someone is coming at you with lies, with violence, with hatred, if you have wisdom, it's better than that. Not just necessarily that you're a better person than they are, but you're going to win. So if they want to pick a fight with you with these things, you come to the battle with the wisdom of God. It's no contest. But one sinner destroyeth much good. So you can have wisdom and it be better than everything else that is coming against you in attack. But know that one faulty person can destroy all of that. Because when you allow one faulty person to wreak havoc on things, one, that's again the absence of wisdom, because wisdom should have told you to shut that down. But they can unravel everything with their poor choices and poor actions and poor words. And that's what happens in a lot of our lives. We've allowed that one poor person, many times it was us, to destroy so much good that we had. So think about it yourself, right? Put down in the comment section, what are some examples in the Bible and where can we find them? Because I want the people who see them to be able to look them up, of either where wisdom was better than weapons of war or where the one sinner destroyed much good. It happened over and over and over again. And it is still happening with us. That's why this lesson is so significant, because it is an opportunity for us to evaluate our lives, how we are living, what we are listening to, and are we the one who cries and rules among fools? Or are we the words of wise and quiet? Are we forgetting the poor wise man or woman in our life who is sharing with us and their words are despised? This is a warning for us and an opportunity for us to really move forward in our godly wisdom. And if you're thinking of examples and you can't think of a time of soft wisdom being spoken to you, you ain't been listening. Like that ought to concern you right there, because God has not allowed you to come this far and, Lord have mercy, land on this YouTube channel. And he has not tried to put godly wisdom in your life. So ask him to open your ears so you can hear it and not be one of those people that cries out and ruling among fools. So I hope you all enjoyed this lesson. I hope you enjoy all of them, actually. If you did enjoy this lesson, please remember to hit that like button below, hit that subscribe button, watch some of our other videos. We have some really awesome discussions that Kanisha and I do together on different either Bible topics or life and how the Bible plays itself out in our day-to-day life. So please make sure to watch some of the other videos, subscribe, share. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next one.